What's up, everybody? This is Lyle with No Hippie Barbecue. What I'm going to be doing today is going to be some popcorn steak. This recipe comes from a cookbook called Coolio, the Ghetto Gourmet, Cooking with Coolio. This book was given to me as part of a white elephant gift exchange at work. And you know what? There's actually some good recipes in this book, believe it or not. And it's a funny book. Anyway, that's where we're getting the inspiration from the recipe. Let's get into these ingredients. Now the ingredients we're going to need is we're going to need some kind of a flour mix. In this book, they've made their own flour recipe. We're going to be using this Drake's that I have left over here. This is a good seasoning. Anyway, that's going to be our seasoning. We have some canola oil that's in a cast iron skillet or a cast iron Dutch oven that we're going to go ahead and get up to about 350 degrees to fry this stuff. Outside of that, what we're going to need, recipe calls for a little bit of beer, so I figured if we're going to go old school on it, let's hit it up with a little bit of Colt 45, right? We're going to need some balsamic vinegar. The original recipe calls for salt and pepper, but I was given some seasoning by another YouTube channel called Authentic Epic Boom. She bought me some Pinsy spices, and in that spice box there was a Chicago steak seasoning that we're going to be using in lieu of the salt and pepper. The steaks that we're going to be using, I have a top round steak that I have that's cut kind of thin. As a matter of fact, let's go ahead and get these out now. So some top round steaks, and then I'm not sure what this other steak is. I bought some steak from a company that ships steaks out, and I figured this was a little too thin to cook regular, so we're going to go ahead and use that in this recipe. First thing I'm going to do is we're going to go ahead and we're going to cut this steak up into bite-sized pieces. Now, the knife I'm going to be using is a knife called Rig Style. Very budget-friendly knife, and it has a beautiful handle on it. I've used it a bit and I really like it. Link's going to be in the description below. And I think I'm going to have a coupon in that description as well. Anyway, we're going to go ahead and cut these into bite-sized pieces, as big or as small as you like. And this knife has a real good feel to it, I'm telling you, especially being a budget knife. I believe, unless they've changed the price, this knife is going to be like under $30, but I think it's a value at that. Anyway, we got these steaks cut up. I'm going to go ahead and just go ahead and set our knife here. I'm going to go ahead and grab our bowl. Now we're going to hit it with the rest of our ingredients. All that we're going to be doing is adding our seasoning to this steak, and we're going to let it marinate, or as in the book says, coagulate, for about 30 minutes. I don't think I'm going to let it go that short a period of time. I'm going to go ahead and let this go for about an hour and a half. So we have our Chicago steak seasoning put in there. Now we're going to go ahead and add our balsamic vinegar. This is a fancy balsamic vinegar that was given to me by Thyron at TNT Barbecue. When he came out here from Iowa, he picked some of this up from an Amish store. I'm going to leave a link to his channel in the iCard above and description below as well. So we got that in, and now we just need to add our Old English, or as we used to say back in the day, a little of this OE. Before I do that, let's go ahead and take a taste of it. Make sure it's on point first. Can't beat a good malt liquor. I will have the recipe in the description. It's a pretty hilarious recipe. I'm cutting out all the humor in that recipe now, but the last step in this recipe is to go ahead and take this steak to Ruth Chris Steakhouse and show them how the steak's supposed to be done. It's a pretty funny book. Anyway, we're going to go ahead and mix this in. I'm going to go ahead and throw it in the refrigerator covered for about an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours. We had a chance to let that steak marinate for about an hour and a half. I went ahead and drained off the liquid that was on the steak, so the steak is a little moist, but it's not dripping with a bunch of liquid. Now we're just going to go ahead, we're going to add it to our flour seasoning. And if you have one of those shake and bake batter things, that's even better, but I'm just going old school. So we're just going to go ahead and batter these up. I'm going to set them on this sheet pan. And I'm going to let them sit on this sheet pan until the batter starts having kind of a tacky appearance to it. Now we have our oil up to temperature. We have our coating that's kind of tacky. We're going to go ahead and add it to our oil. This is probably going to take a few batches. And we're going to cook these for about 5 to 7 minutes. These have cooked about 5 minutes. It looks like they're the color I want, so we're just going to go ahead, pull these off, set them on a broiler pan. If you don't have a broiler pan that would allow the oil to drain off, just throw it on a plate or something with a paper towel. So that's what it looked like close up. Listen, I'm not being sponsored by Old English. I just happen to be drinking it today. But if you do want to go out and buy a budget knife, I will go ahead and say pick up this rig style for under $30, which is what it's priced at right now. That's a good deal. Anyway, how do we get into this? Go ahead and take a taste. Got a little bit of a Thai chili sauce we're dipping this in right now.
That's real good. Meat's nice and tender. Outside's got a nice crisp to it.
I'm telling you, I bought some barbecue books in my day. This right here, Cooking with Coolio, the Ghetto Gourmet, is not only funny, but probably a better overall cookbook than about 60-65% of the barbecue, probably 70% of the barbecue cookbooks I buy. But anyway, if you see this around at a thrift store or something like that, or see it on Amazon for real cheap, pick this up. Got nice little stuff in there. Anyway, me and Head Kennedy are about to get out of here. Anyway, thanks for stopping by No Hippie Barbecue. I appreciate it. Comment, subscribe. Now I'm out.